We acknowledge the Darug people of the Eora Nation as the traditional owners of the land we work on. We pay our respects to elders, past, present, and emerging.
Always was, always will be.
Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast Mindshetra Talks Lost in Translation. We are a mother and daughter duo, Indian Australians living in Sydney. We are using our personal experiences and insights to connect and relate with people with similar experiences.
We are using this podcast as our voice to unpack topics that are often lost in translation within our South Asian community. We are doing this podcast with the intention to break down the barriers in communication that may exist between parents and children, and we hope to offer some talking points to instigate these conversations.
Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of the podcast, Mindshetra Talks Lost in Translation. Today we have a special guest. I'm going to call her Nive Aunty, but she actually goes by another name, but we'll get to that in a bit.
We've got a big gun here waiting for us, but we want to kind of start with this conversation or this thought I had about often when we come in trains or public places, Riti is kind of the squeamish one, and she never likes public display of affection. Mm-hmm. So much so that when she sees somebody kissing or hugging, or when her dad kind of generally displays affection, she kind of goes, "Yucky, mommy," and all that. And so there's a season of Bridgerton which has come out. I don't know if you've watched Bridgerton.
I haven't. I should though.
You should, yes.
I keep, I get a lot of references from it. I should, I guess.
And I am a real big fan of the show. And so, but both the daughters have refused to kind of watch it with me because they find sex awkward.
Yes.
Well, it's like when you're watching a movie and then a sex scene comes on.
Yep.
Like, that's weird.
Yeah, it can be. It's nothing unusual about feeling that way because sex can be a very personal thing. And not everybody is okay to talk about it or see it along with other people. Some people want to just keep it very personal within four walls, and there's nothing wrong about it because it's an individual and an independent thing. And that's fine.
That's fine.
I think Riti now itself is feeling it. See that
No,
her
I'm
cheeks
not.
are
She's got a bit of a blush, but that's okay.
The minute I say sex, sexual health, and
but I think
and all
kids somewhere
that.
between 12 to 13 to like a very long time have that blush on their face.
talking to
For
their
a bit.
parents about sex. And I think this will be a segue
This
for
is
you,
the
Riti.
good introduction. Introducing Dr. Nive Manokaran. Dr. Nive, or as I call her, Nive Aunty, is a dermatologist, venereologist, and clinician in sexual and reproductive health and HIV medicine. She has worked in this field for the last 11 years and is also the founder of Untaboos, an online Instagram project which strongly promotes self-love and aims to eradicate the stigma behind sexual health. She's a TEDx speaker and has recently won the Australia's Fashion Grandeurs Miss Australia title. Did I get that correct?
That's correct.
Wow.
And she is much, much, much more than that. These are just a few things we thought we would kind of mention.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
She is a powerhouse when it comes to talking about sexual health. If you have, you might have known her separately anyway. So if you haven't, just check out her Instagram account, Untaboo. And what I love about that particular account is that she talks about topics which mostly even professionals find it hard, or even, very well educated. We have all the theory, but when it comes to talking to kids or talking to other people, we kind of have a setback. My question to Nive is going straight into the discussion as to why we have you here.
Sure.
Is I'm a mental health professional,
Mm-hmm.
and I work with a lot of young people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there is a correlation between sexual health, identity, and mental health? And if so, what are some of them that you find?
Sure. I think there's a huge correlation between sexual and mental health. I think your sexual health, your sexuality, your sexual needs is one of your basic needs. It's like hunger. So all of these things kind of define your mood, your self-esteem, and the underlying how you feel or think about yourself or the mental health. It's directly related to it. It affects the relationships you have. It affects the person you become in the very long run. We don't talk about sex or sexual health as much, but to be honest, if there is anything in terms of expressing your sexuality, expressing your sexual needs or not being fulfilled, the first thing it will impact is how you feel. The first thing sexual health will impact is your mental health.
And I feel like when it comes to young people, not having this vocabulary on how to kind of talk about yourself and your sexual needs can be very debilitating for them, because it forms a great part of the gender identity as well. And how to kind of express it, and how to kind of even know for yourself as to what is something you like, what is something you don't like. So what are some of the things you find are common things which hinder somebody's, personal growth?
Sure. I would just say there's only one thing that hinders this is shame. The shame that we are associating a personal need. Like, for example, if we are going to tell someone that this is a personal need, I want some form of pleasure, we shame them, and them verbalizing that need and want is considered as a very shameful act. And I think that is the problem to all of this. Many things is because the whole need for pleasure is associated with shame.
Especially for women, right?
Yes, especially for women. And with youngsters, because we shame them. In cultural way, I feel like we are so ready to shame youngsters when they say, I need this. I feel like I need this. And we just shame them so quickly because we have an ideology as to what they should or must need. We decide their needs.
We as in parents.
We as in parents, the society decides your needs. Let's say, for example, somebody wants to have rice, something as simple as 3 times a day. We decide whether it's okay or not. We don't let them
take that liberty.
We take the liberty to decide for them, saying, no, you can't have rice 3 times a day.
But why is that?
Because culturally, we feel like we have more experience than them and we should decide for them. And sometimes as parents, we are very protective and we think that whatever pain or whatever misunderstanding or negativities that we have undergone, we want to protect our children from going through that. We like, I know how this feels, so I don't want you to feel that way. We are never okay to say, yeah, you can feel and then figure it out for yourself how hard this is. We never do that because that's it's a parental instinct, I would say, not really maternal, both ways. We don't want our children to go through any bad experience we have gone through. Like that could be like, let's say we scored 70% in something and we couldn't do some career that we wanted to. We would work so hard, or in a way project to our younger ones as to don't get 70, get a 90 if you want to do and project the whole thing towards them. Take our own experience and trauma or sadness or whatever and then project it to them. We think we are protecting them, but many a times life has to be led by people and sadness and risks have to be taken by individuals for them to realize what is okay and what is not. And we have to be there when things go down. That's all.
Yeah, but I also feel sometimes as parents ourselves, we actually don't even... I'm going to talk specifically in our culture.
In the South Asian.
In the South Asian culture, sex is considered not only taboo but a shameful topic.
Exactly.
And anybody who asks for sex is shamed.
It's moral.
But we also call it a dirty act. Has to be done in the middle of the night. Like it has to be not spoken about. Like nobody tells you about having sex or what, pleasure is never part of sex. You have sex to have kids, or it's almost like a procreational activity you do. And do you think that kind of impacts? So because we I don't think we openly talk about anything to our kids,
Sure.
most of them.
That's a sad thing, isn't it? From a country that wrote Kama Sutra and from a
Yes.
country that has temples like Mohenjo-daro, where we have male having, sex on the walls of the temple and polygamy, polyamory, everything depicted on the temple. We are now saying that culturally it's not okay and we need to do it hidden. And anybody associating themselves with any of that was depicted there is shameful because that is something what the British did to India. And I just want to say that because that's how they shamed you. That's how they made you dress in a different way because we didn't believe in blouses. We didn't wear blouses. We were very sexy with our saris, to be honest. And it didn't bother us. And we didn't define women based on that. But then we started to because it is very clear on the history. It's in research, it's in the books that British said you cannot walk around like this because walking around with less clothes is shame. Seeing more than this many people. So they brought in this thing and we are still struggling to go back to our Mohenjo-daro times and we are very diligently following what the British brought us.
But that's what conditioning does for you, right?
Yeah.
If it's
Exactly.
deep rooted, you are told that something is bad for one or
Exactly.
two generations.
You
Yes.
start like not even thinking about it
No,
like twice. You're
that's
just like
right.
accepting that.
That's right.
fact.
And it's it just comes
And,
naturally.
and that's the way of you kind of really controlling somebody even after you have left
Yes.
the place.
That's correct. And I think that is kind of partially on us as well because even after they left, we embraced a lot of things that they left. Culture in many ways, I think, stayed with us, both for convenience as well because many, I think men and women, as we know, it's a very, patriarchal society and it suited everybody. So we just held on to things that had to change but didn't. But where we are at today, I think I'm very happy because our platform is one and what we are doing today is one thing. But there's so many of us out there trying to open up these conversations and trying to ask these questions and talk about these subjects and try to bring awareness and make it feel like that's a dining table conversation. Let's bring it on. For a country that's over 1 billion in population, sex is probably happening every minute. And that's something that we can't be ashamed of because there's so many negatives and positives that come out of sex and we have to do it in a safe way. So if we don't talk about it, we will only be going towards negative things that sex will lead to when it's all hidden.
And
I feel like because when you don't talk about it, like you start like coming up with your own idea of it and then you're not like properly informed and
Absolutely.
then that informs your perception of it and then
Yes.
a bad experience can like alter your chemistry.
Mental health,
Yeah,
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
And it can also cause some physical health damages. I mean, when we think about anything sexual or health-wise, all we can think or allowed to think is pregnancy.
Yes.
Pregnancy is the only legal, like a shameless
Like
thing
the
that you can
repercussion.
talk about. Everything else, like tear, pain, dry, like everything else that comes with sex is not even a thing that people can actually address about, which is a shame because those things can be very physically and mentally debilitating for someone going through the pain or whatever. And if you don't talk about it, then you can't address it. You can't help people.
Definitely.
and shame can be so debilitating because it can actually sit in various parts of your body and kind of anything you repress comes out with
correct.
threefold and affects how not only how you view yourself and also the relationships you have. But having said that, the awkwardness is still there, isn't it?
I
Jyoti?
agree. It's just like
Yep.
if you're like saying in theory, like it's just awkward to come to your parents and be like, I'm kind of feeling a bit horny, like
Can't.
yeah, but you can't do that. I would never do that.
But you don't have to do that though. That's what I'm trying to say. Feeling horny can be something that you can help yourself. Do you really have to come and say that?
No,
to
you
a
don't have to.
parent?
It's
That's
like
right.
establishing the boundaries.
That's
of, like,
right.
where,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But what is important is for you not to feel shame when you're feeling horny. Because many a times when people are horny or when they masturbate or whatever, there's a lot of guilt and shame associated with it because I have a lot of people saying, oh my God, I'm doing this for myself. How do I stop this dirty habit? And it takes a lot to say, it's not a dirty habit. You're just fulfilling a need. That's all. So it's going to take a long time for us to actually convince people that that is what it is. Because like you said, you don't have to come and express. Like, it's like, you don't always come and tell your parent that you want to go to the toilet. So you just go. Because as an adult, you've grown into going and taking care of that side of things. So will you in this. You will take care of this side of things, but without guilt. Is what is important. Yeah,
I agree. I think my question for you is, because I was having a bit of a stalk on your website,
which you should. That's what it's for.
Can we please redefine stalking? It's just gathering information and
the
researching.
audience knows what I mean.
Yes, I think.
They know what I mean. My question is, considering sexual health is such a taboo in like a South Asian culture, did you face any obstacles pursuing this field, even though you come from a family of doctors?
Yes, very much so. So I come from a family of surgeons, and surgery is probably something they would have been very proud of.
Yes.
But my dad did suggest that I should do dermatology and do, a bit of skin because he's a plastic surgeon. But so luckily for me, dermatology in India has venereology, which is nothing but sexual health.
Oh.
So venereology is sexually transmitted infection, study of the sexually transmitted diseases.
Okay.
So that's what venereology is. So it just came with my dermatology, fortunately. And what was fascinating is I would see so many 16, 17-year-old girls and boys. They will come with their parents. Obviously, like in that age in India, they just don't walk up to the clinic by themselves. They'll come with their parents, and I'll examine for some kind of thing, and it will look like an STI, and I will treat them. But never will you ever have the nerve to ask a 16-year-old, are you having sex? Especially when they're sitting with their parent.
So how do you treat them for an STI if you...
You treat them. You give them the ointment.
That's it.
That's it.
You just
And will the
assume
parent not ask what it is? Or
No,
is the
because
parent
they
ignorant
trust-
enough?
Well,
Will the parent ask why you're giving an...
no, they won't ask
But they knew
anything
you
to
were
the
a
doctor.
But they knew you were a sexual
I'm a
health-
dermatologist.
Ah.
So that's a good thing. So that people come in without, they don't want to tell people
So it's
that
just
that's
a
what they
skin
can. It's a
issue.
skin issue. Something is there on her skin. And that's it. That's all they want to talk about. And two things. One is they don't question the doctor what you're giving. Nothing. They're
kid.
happy, like give it, I want it gone.
Yeah.
The second thing is, even if there's something wrong, I don't want to know. None of us want to know about it. We don't
That
want
is
to
so
talk about it. Very sad. Because at that point, I was a young doctor, let me be honest. I was in my early 20s, in fact. And I was just told, and I did what I was told. They said, look at this, treat her for this, and that is it. I was not even taught or even thought that this is sexually active girl. Can I also do a gonorrhea chlamydia testing? No, I never did that. Never in
You just
our
gave the ointment.
Gave the ointment for what she had. I would send them
Wouldn't
off.
she have a lot of health risks if
100%, but I was just not taught that in my university.
Again, shame goes so systemically into the
Very
teaching.
deep. And honestly, we are a country where we are trying to say we want to prevent abuse, sexual abuse. That could be that. And I really turned a blind eye. I did not, it could be forced. Maybe somebody is forcing this on the child. Did not ask her. I am terribly guilty to have been trained that way. And then...
But then it's not only your fault, right?
Exactly.
No,
So
it's not my
a
fault, but that's
It's
the whole
our
system.
Yeah, the system you...
And most importantly, okay, she's got an STI. She's 16, she's having periods. What are you doing for contraception?
Yeah.
Never asked her that question. Never
or
did
never
I.
told to ask that question.
Never. And if I don't know, I was so scared that if I asked this girl this question in front of her mother, I don't know. Yeah, she's going to get mad and they might, I don't know what they would do.
And would you not have an opportunity to kind of have a one-on-one
Private.
consultation?
I would take the girl inside for an examination and that's a good time to ask. And I have tried asking that question to not young girls, but women who are a little bit more older to who we can ask and say, but this is it, right? And literally I will get silent answer. Literally, like silence. People who are married, if I'm trying to say, your husband needs to get tested as well. And if I'm trying to say something, I literally get silence. And then they will never, ever come back and see me. They will never, ever. So I'll lose this girl who's actually, I'll have to help her, yes. But then if you confront her, with things or ask her questions that she's uncomfortable. She may know that her husband is probably having sex with other people, but she will not
Come back. She'll
She
find
will-
somebody, a doctor
a doctor who
treat
doesn't
it,
ask these
questions.
questions and who will just treat her for the symptoms.
That is insane.
So
Yes.
what would you do rather? Would you rather go get to would you keep the patient with you
Yeah.
or ask these questions? And
See,
that's
what
a
was
very hard
but what
position to
was
be in.
interesting is I never thought of these things anyway. I didn't know that either. Now, as a 40-something-year-old, I'm able to retrospectively do that because I got trained here in sexual health. When the first day I started a job here, I was given a 3-page history taking on sexual health. I'm like, what? And I was supposed to go through those questions with everybody who walked inside the door. Everybody, the amount of detailed sexual health history we take from anybody who walks inside this door. So in 30 minutes, I'll have to make someone feel so comfortable and I'll have to act so like, what to say, so cool. I'm not judging you. Let's go and ask like 30 questions of absolute mortifying intimate questions.
Oh wow! So
I
you must
had
have
to.
some super skills. Like I thought therapist job was hard.
No, the
This
first
is
time.
the hardest job.
No, but I started answering the questions for myself the first time, and I'm thinking, and then I thought, I have never asked these questions as a sexual health specialist in my country. I would never dare ask these questions.
Would you be able to ask me? I don't know if she will be comfortable, but would you ask me some of
if you're
these
happy,
questions?
I would.
Yeah. Ask me some of
Let's
these
go
questions.
for it.
Let's go for it. We didn't
Okay.
prepare for that. Like
I think, but these are very good questions. We would
okay,
never ask.
just throw me some and throw me some
And the audience
abbreviation.
can answer in their head.
Yes, because I did. I was like,
Yeah.
let's do this.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay,
Let's
so
see
to
if I-
begin these questions, I really have to say that these are non-judgmental questions, and whatever we ask will be inside this room.
Yes.
La, la, la.
Not in this room.
No, I'll be having say that to patients because we respect confidentiality.
Yes.
Okay.
In this country, especially, like it's a huge thing.
Okay. So maybe
so
not
let's
too
fire.
personal that I embarrass my husband, but
You
you can
have
ask
to.
me because okay.
Well,
Okay,
well,
now
I'm
I
gonna
want
go
it.
for it.
Okay, go for it.
All right. So, do you have sex with men, women, or both?
Just men.
So that's a question we ask. So then we kind of define the gender, sexuality. And the reason we ask that is depending on your sexuality, you are using different parts of your body to have sex. Yeah, so I just can't ask everybody who walks into the door to pee in a cup to make sure they don't have STIs because they probably are not using that part for sex.
Riti, are you going to sit in your seat or are you going to flee?
It's good.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's a very important question because that's what decides where my swabs are gonna go. Where am I gonna swab you for it?
Where are
Because
the most common places a swab would go?
throat? Because you may be someone who's
yes.
totally not
Yep,
wanting.
yep.
Yes.
I'm just trying to think of how it would happen.
Yeah. Throat swabs,
Yep.
very important.
Yep.
And you can get a urine test
Yep.
in both men and women.
Easy.
And you can get an anal swab.
Okay.
Yeah.
3
Yes.
Three. That's the
Yeah.
most common. What's
Most
the
common
most like
swabs.
uncommon swab?
Are there any?
Are there
No,
any
no.
uncommon swabs?
They're not uncommon swabs,
like,
but
very
they're
rare.
uncommon tests. So if let's say you're having sex with men, you said, Rupa, and then if you say I've been in a long term, next I will ask how many partners have you had in the last 3 months? How many partners have you had in the last year? And let's
Both
say
answer will be the same.
exactly. So if
Yeah.
let's say I've had the same partner for 6 years.
Yes.
Perfect. Then it'll be a very simple urine sample and that's it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's say you're a sexually active gay man.
Yeah.
And in which case you say I've had 3 partners in the last 3 months,
Yeah.
maybe in the last year 6. Then I would probably do all of the tests. I'll give you a throat swab because there's been a
Been a
number.
number of- yeah.
Yes. So and I want to make sure that the transmission everything is cut off. Yeah. So like that. So these questions are very important. And you need to keep a very straight face because you're asking very personal details, like you said. If you feel like saying you're horny is bad, can you imagine when I'm saying what are the ways you're having? And then important question, this is a lingo, I don't know if you guys will know it, but I want to ask.
Yes, ask me.
Top, bottom or both?
Oh, like what place
Yeah.
you're in.
She is quick, man. She is
See,
quick.
she knows. She
I'm
knows.
proud of her. I'm proud of her. She knows. She knows.
So,
she knows.
yeah. So if
I taught her
someone,
well. No, I didn't
So
teach
if
you that.
someone
Don't
is-
say that out loud.
No, I didn't teach her that.
So if somebody is only top
Yeah.
and they never are bottoming, I don't have to do a anal swab.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Am I making
Yes.
sense? Yeah, so it's very technical,
Ah.
but you'll get used to these things as you
Yes.
ask the questions and run people. And we always ask them, have you ever been forced or feeling uncomfortable when you're having it? Because that's very important. It's like a screening question for sexual abuse.
But would somebody, so for example, one of the questions I'll have to ask when I see somebody is that, have you had any suicidal ideations, right? And most often what I find is that they may answer truthfully, but sometimes they don't. But because we've been trained to kind of find out furthermore investigation, you pick up. Even though the answer comes out one way, their body language and the way they do and their story doesn't add up. When it comes to that particular question, have you been forced, would you actually get an honest answer?
Or is it like, it's like,
And it's got so many layers, isn't it?
It's hard to tell. But she knows that she or he will know that I've asked that question. So if they go back home and if this is eating them up, saying that, oh, they did ask me this question and I was wanting to share this with someone for a long time. A lot of the times you'll see them when they come in the next appointment. I do have people saying, hey, you asked me this, you know, and they'll come up with it. We are just opening windows and telling them that there is a secure place and a non-judgmental person who's happy to hear this and probably guide you through what you may need. That's all. So it doesn't have to come straight up. That's not the notion. But you've opened doors. You've said, we are here. So if it did in the future, they'll know where to come. If any of their friends or any of their family have gone through it, they'll know to tell them to come. And if they themselves feel like, even if it takes a couple of appointments, to see, in your job and my job, Rupa, we have to gain the trust of these individuals before they open up all of this. So even if it takes a couple of appointments, that's fine. They'll come back and you'll be a safe space.
I kind of feel like sometimes people may even open up about suicidal ideation because there is a lot of mental health awareness nowadays, and it is, though it is still kind of, we have to change a lot. But when it comes to sexual health and that the matter of being forced, there could be any number of layers. It could be a rape, it could be domestic violence, it could be incest, whatever that is, right? Yeah, why are you?
incest.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So when it comes to that, because of the shame and also the repercussions which could happen, if I say yes,
then yes. No, that's what I
I
was
think
gonna
your
say.
job is a much more like very nuanced and sensitive when it comes to that, because not only you have to tread the water really light, but then you also have to gain a lot of information.
This is why we don't use the word rape, because rape can be triggering for many.
What would you use?
Have you been forced?
Have you been forced?
Yes, so we use that word. And like I said, it's a shame that many people don't recognize force.
Marital rape is not even
they don't
considered
recognize it.
as
People
force.
sometimes feel like it is their obligation. They have to do because they're married.
In the physical exam, can you tell?
No.
If they've been abused, I think they can. If there are marks and stuff,
I mean,
but
abuse
that can
like
happen.
that, but with just sexual abuse, let's just say it's really hard. Sorry. But if they went to an emergency department when it happened, there are forensic tests. They'll take samples and stuff like that, and then they can tell.
Yeah.
And what is also very important is you can still go and get your forensic samples done and everything, but that doesn't mean you want to take it forward or go to the police. Nothing will happen. They'll hold on to your forensic samples for a while. They'll give you some time to process this whole thing and will ask you what they want to do, because sometimes, like you said, Rupa, it could be someone you really know, someone you don't want to daub in, or something maybe stake for you, a lot of things, right? So they give the individual, they respect and give the individual the time to decide and the choice as to how they want to take this forward, which is fantastic.
Okay, so throw us some words which will normally, like, do clients or patients when they come to you know if you say, like, say if there is a UTI,
that's their language,
or STI, or if you say all those things, would they know what it is?
They usually know, but we do have a called population as well, where the language is a barrier. So sometimes when I say, do you have any STIs? And they'll say, what? And they won't know. We use interpreters a lot of the time.
Okay. I don't even know what is STI in Tamil. Don't know. I don't know. What do you know what is STI stand for?
Sexually transmitted
Yeah.
disease. No, that's STD.
Yes, STIs, sexually transmitted infections. Okay.
Yes.
What
the
is
reason we
Mirena?
started calling it infections because disease again is a very tabooed word, and disease is something that you will not get rid of, while infections is something that you can
But
get
they
rid of.
essentially
It's
mean
over.
the same thing.
No,
They are the
same
same diseases,
diseases,
you're
yeah.
right. But we just don't call them diseases anymore. We call them infections.
Okay.
Bec-
STIs.
yes, STIs. So because that's just treatable. And like, for example, diabetes is a chronic disease.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get rid of it.
No.
Right. But your gonorrhea and chlamydia are not diseases because you pop an antibiotic and it's gone. Yeah. So we don't want to call it disease. It's not something that's going to stay with you.
Yes.
And also to let people know, because they freak out saying, oh my God, I've got this and I'm going to die with this. Because I think we come from an era of like HIV and AIDS, and you know, we've come from that time, and we feel like it's death. It's so bad that, but that's what we want to say. It's not. It's an infection.
Yeah. And it's
You get
treatable.
treated. Yes. And so come forward, get treated. And we want to normalize and say, especially in today's world where monogamy is accepted by many, casual sex is a thing. So we just really want to tell people, so come and get tested. Make sure you get treated for these infections if you have them.
Definitely.
That's it.
Yeah. What are some other questions you would ask in an exam?
Exam, or you give us some
yeah.
abbreviations and we try and do a game
Guess.
if we can guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. In my situation, would you know if I said, do you work? Do you know what I'm asking?
In the context of
My consultation, if I'm asking someone, do you work? What does that mean?
sex work?
Yes.
Okay, sex work. Oh
Yes.
my God, that's another
That's
big
another thing.
layer
Yes.
of taboo topic of sex
Yes,
work.
because
and
I have to ask, and again, like I said, they have different like swabs and stuff. Because for a normal female, we wouldn't do throat swabs. But if you're working, the load of people you see in a day is much more higher. So then we do special swabs and tests, and vaccinations are very important. HPV, hepatitis B, and a whole lot of things around it. So
And HPV, if you have for a very long time, can lead to cancer.
that's correct. HPV is the virus that causes cervical cancer. You're right. And sorry, while we're at abbreviations, I just want to throw this. IDU.
I know it.
Yeah. Oh,
IUD or IDU?
No, not IUD. I know you know IUD. no. I thought, because you know how you sent me this, I was like, no, IDU.
IDU.
I know IUD. I don't know what IDU
That's not
is.
the question.
Okay. Do you want to get
IDU.
something intra, something intra, IDU, intra.
Dizzy.
No.
So IDU is injecting drug user.
Oh.
So you transmit HIV and Hep C if you're injecting drugs and you're sharing needles.
Oh.
So that's very important.
So injecting drug
use is IDU.
Okay.
Yeah. So we say no IDU.
Okay. So anything else?
Yeah, I think that's it. SA.
Sexual assault.
Sexual assault.
Sexual assault.
Yeah, so sexual
Okay.
abuse. So,
Yeah.
so you know that.
Not bad. So
yeah.
I've been itching to ask you this question for a very long time. So as you would know, Riddhi is my daughter, and here we are talking. She's my first daughter, and we are talking about sexual health, right?
Yes.
When Riddhi was growing up, and I was educating her on her body and to take care of her periods, she was the only one in her entire school and cohort who knew about periods. And when she went and spoke to her friends, they kind of shunned her and said, this is not something you talk about. And she actually didn't understand why they were shunning her, because that's where the shame of not talking came from. And when I kind of talk about mental health and that we all should proactively do it, we should use art for it, oftentimes there is a lot of resistance, especially from a South Asian context. one of the main resistance I find as a parent when I talk about anything to do with the body or saying, or now that she's like, 21, and I am somebody who actively advocates that she has to go find, there has to be certain kind of things which you have to experience at certain stages, right? So I actively advocate for her to date or go out, and I'm often found with I receive a lot of backlash saying, if you educate them or if you're so open and you don't have
You're basically like giving
I'm like giving permission for them to
have sex.
Is that something you find as a sexual health worker, where people kind of misjudge what you're saying and misunderstand your message for you're trying to correct my kids, and by talking about sexual health, you're actually saying it's okay to go and have unprotected sex and all those things, and it's I'm giving you permission to have sex.
Yes.
Something like that.
Okay, so I'm going to take away that power from parents for a moment and just say that you ain't having the right to give permission, to be honest. Independent of what you say, what you want, whether you give her permission or him permission or not, they're going to have sex when it happens, or when they feel like it, when the body's all ready and they find a partner with who they can do it, a nice space to do it, they're going to do it. It does not matter what you say, what you want. And I want people to take this in really clear. Because somehow most of us think like we have control over everything of someone else's. And we don't. Unfortunately, that's the truth. We have principles and morals and some rules in the family, and we have raised them teaching those kind of things to them, which is fantastic, which is definitely going to sit in the back of their head. And most importantly, in the long run, that will play a role somewhere. Like I speak very openly to my kids and say, 2 things: unwanted pregnancy, STIs. I don't want you to come with either of it. So here's a condom. And this prevents both of it. And if you were to have any symptom or any fear, you can talk to me, or where I work. There'll be other nurses and staff, and you can go there confidentially and talk to them. And this is an information I have given my 17-year-old. And that's all I can do.
Yeah. How important do you think it is? Because do you kind of feel judged when you do that? Have you had any backlash of people telling you because of what you do?
Who cares? I know they're going to have sex.
No, it's not about... It's not about who cares, but what do you generally
Rupa,
find?
who cares? I'm really saying, because it doesn't. I personally know what happened around me, and when I grew up, when I was a 17-year-old, I was in India. I exactly know what happened and what happened. There used to be girlfriends who were so stressed not getting a period even 1 day or 2 days, and eat a bowls of papaya and jump up and down because they haven't used a condom with their boyfriends.
How stupid is that? Yeah, I've had girlfriends who've done that as well. Yeah.
And they freak, like they'll take a lot of papaya thinking they're pregnant, and papaya actually
like a plan B.
Yeah, like a plan B, and it'll abort apparently. But
papayas, that's all myth, I think.
It's all myth. Because papaya causes increase in body heat. It's a fruit that increases body heat, hoping they'll have a period. And then they'll be skipping and jumping because they're again trying to... because they could never talk about contraception, or they can't go into a pharmacy or anywhere and say, give a condom as a 17, 18-year-old. But that doesn't mean it wasn't happening. None of you spoke to them about it. Again, it was still happening.
But again, there could also be misunderstanding that having oral sex can lead to pregnancy, right? I've had a few girlfriends when I was 17-year-old, where they thought, when you ask them real questions, they'd also not have the penetration happen. And
even
then
now,
they'd go,
even now I get questions saying, oh, no, but we had only, but then my periods are postponed. I'm like, don't worry then, because nothing happened.
Biologically.
It's not possible, but anyway, that's a long story. But, so it's like that. So this is what I feel. And so at the bottom of it, there's a lot of research that has showed that if you address these things with young people, the debut of their first sexual encounter is delayed. There is research that has showed that. So if you talk to a 17-year-old and tell him that this is what's going to happen, this is da-da-da, here you go, his debut will be probably later than someone who has nothing about this, learns or sees or interested in let's say, sees pornography and wants to go and try this out because they're so curious. They want to know. Rather than someone who said, this is what it is. Yeah, you go. This is what's going to happen. Yeah, go for it. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And which is a really good thing. So parents, we should be encouraging them. But some of the parents don't even understand how to talk about it because there's this awkwardness. Like,
That's
if
right.
you can't even watch Bridgerton together.
Sad.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
What are some of the things
like
you can do?
starting steps. And
Yeah.
like, what would you advise if like someone like me to have those conversations if like you haven't had them before?
You want to have a conversation with who? Or
Like a
am I
parent.
like a
Yeah.
parent? Okay, perfect. See, I think this is a very embarrassing topic, especially for youngsters and teenagers. So you're not supposed to go on and on and on about it till a point where they're getting embarrassed and they say, "Oh God, ma, stop it!" Or no. Like my consultation, I do it very brief, very crisp, and I have a very non-judgmental face, and I walk away. I move away. So I think simple, like I've said it. This is it. Gone. The next conversation will be, "Do you want Milo?" Doesn't matter. So I think that's how you should keep it. Don't take a long time in the process of wanting to break the ice because that's not how you break the ice. Okay, you just say, "Hey, I just want to have a conversation with you. Do you have 2 minutes?" And then you sit down and say, "Look, I know most people your age are probably, doing this, wanting to do this. I just, I want you to know that I'm going to be here for you, be what may. I want you to be safe because, we don't want this or that. I hope you know all this. All right, bye. Get up off the room, out."
Yeah.
There's no too much eye contact. There's no too much giggles. Nothing. Walk out. That's it. The ice is broken. It's done. The conversation is done.
And what would you do? Like age-appropriate conversations, right? Like maybe like 8 to 11, you'll talk to them about periods and their own body changes and how that happens. And then what age are you finding people getting more sexually active nowadays?
Yeah.
I think it can happen as young as 14, 13, 14. I've had some pregnant kids in their 14 in my clinic and things like that. It's very hard because they think they are mature, but I don't think they are. But then legally, we have an obligation now to disclose this to a parent because they're junior. But then they are very scared and mortified and whatever. And it's a very complicated situation.
And I'm thinking because your body also would not have been prepared for a pregnancy.
Your mind is not.
Yeah.
Your mind is not prepared. I mean, just because the uterus has had a period for a year, yes, it has a capacity to grow a baby, yes. But unfortunately, your hypothalamus is not going to be settled till you're 21.
21.
Yeah, that's why your youth health is between 14.
Look at her face. She's going, "Oh, that's good then."
No, because the youth health, as we say, is between 13, 14 to 21. And after 21, you go into the adult categories, right? So that's because your judgment, the way you think about it. Because I have had some 14-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy who are, she's pregnant and he's only 15. And they had this whole concept of where they're going to work, how they're going to save money, where they're going to build their house. And, it is so cute, but no. I'm literally having I have a 17-year-old, right? So I'm thinking, I'm literally having in my eyes, and I'm thinking, no, we ain't building house anywhere in the near future. The rate Sydney is going,
no, we have to move to Canberra probably for that.
Plan.
I know,
yeah,
I know.
But they're so cute. Like they're very serious. They're very they really like each other.
At least there is the good point is if a 14-year-old or 15-year-old has that kind of clarity, it's really good.
Yes.
Which is
but
great.
the sad bit is
It's a
these are
positive
kids who are in their foster homes or they are couch serving. And they've been taken away from their parents due to drug and alcohol issues. So clearly there's background to all of this as to why they feel like they need someone for themselves. So they are trying to find it through a partner and saying, "Oh, now we have each other. We're going to have a baby. We're going to have a house." They're living in what they didn't have for themselves. But life is not, unfortunately, that easy. So we have to somehow, so there's counselors involved, there is, DCJ involved, and we have to somehow make sure that they are getting education and tell them, let's finish year 10. Then let's see whether you want to do TAFE or what you like that. So it's a very slow process in some of these vulnerable kids. And I feel like the New South Wales Health, the government, we do a great job in trying to do that. And that's what I'm saying. So having this conversation is way past when they're 14 and someone's pregnant. All that stage is finished. Now we're dealing with something
Completely different.
Completely different.
So you would suggest that having age-appropriate conversations at every stage, checking in, being there, being open, being crisp.
Being
How
non-judgmental.
about we? I
See,
didn't
you
even get a
can
sex
do
talk.
it, but if you don't do it, they're going to learn it somehow. Like their friends will be telling.
So
they will know
would
it.
you rather give them the
come
good
through a
information?
reputable source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
So would you suggest that we use birds and bees as example?
Well, not anymore.
So when I told Rithi about birds and bees, she actually didn't understand because I think
I'm
I'm
not
going to.
stupid.
It's not like I'm stupid, but
She's like, what are you talking
I
about?
know exactly what you're
What you
talking
talking
about. That is
Like,
terminology.
Why are you using? Yeah, I know.
no, because I told you
still,
the
I
artwork
feel,
I'm going to
Rupa,
be doing is about
I
flowers.
feel we
birds
can
and
be
bees.
more. I feel we can be more straightforward and use just simple terms. You know how we tell for little baby, don't use, don't use words like boo boo, mo. Just use big words. Yes, like that. Like I said, keep it simple. Say what you have to say. Walk away.
Cut to the chase.
That's it. Finish it off. Walk away, because I feel that is very important, because otherwise it is a very delicate topic.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
I think that was such insightful discussion.
Do you
and
have any questions for her as
I
a
think-
closure?
not necessarily questions, but I think that is there something you'd want to leave if there was one piece of advice, if they don't listen to this episode but they just get to the ending, what would be that bit that you would leave an audience member watching this, say a parent or a young child?
So most important thing is sex is pleasurable. I just want people to remember that. It shouldn't feel forced. And you should only have it when you feel like you really want to have it. And when you feel like you really want to have it, go for it. That's very important. And the gold standard is condoms are fantastic. They prevent from STIs, they prevent from pregnancy. And I always would like to tell people, anything takes 3 months to work well, whether it's a pill or whether it's a relationship. So always use it till you figure out about a person and what you want to do in terms of relationship and a long-term contraception, whatever. Condom is like something that you just have to close your eyes and go for it. And then rest of it, you can talk about it after a 3-month probation, to be honest.
Probation period of
It is though, because in a time where we are into casual sex and relationships take a while to build, it feels like this is it. This is your soulmate in week 1. And I don't think that's how we
That's the
judge the
case.
use. That's the case. So week 1 and week 2 are the best, and it feels like you found the person. But like I said, for the first 3 months, I think everybody's in probation, because everybody's
Yes.
in best of behavior
Yeah.
at that point.
And so giving somebody some time, even to know yourself, if how
Yeah.
you are responding. And
Yeah,
it's
and
okay.
whether you like it with this person or not, or how is all going to go. What happens if you're angry, you're sad, you have 3 cycles of periods. Let's see how everybody copes with that. And all of that. There's a lot of things that's involved. And I always tell people do that. That's important. And the second thing, it's like a one-stop thing that does both pregnancy and your STIs, which are fantastic. So it's a little, keeps your stress down. Yeah, so that's one word. If anything, consent, condoms.
Amazing. That was a brilliant episode. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
We
Look at
did
this
do good.
lovely flower.
Oh, that's beautiful though.
Wow.
It's nice.
Look at that.
Yeah, when you were talking about shame, I had to add a little bit of black.
Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was
It's okay.
amazing.
Yeah.
You can follow Dr. Nive at Untaboos on Instagram. And thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Follow us for more episodes and stay tuned.
And let us know what was your takeaway from this episode. And do share it with your friends and young ones, because if at all anything, and if you are looking for pointers on how to open a conversation, this will help you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you both
See
for having
you.
me. Had a great time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.